everyone. My name is Michelle Meyer-Shipp, and I'm the CEO of Dress for Success Worldwide, the leading global nonprofit employment resource for women. We have helped over 1.3 million women in 24 countries achieve economic independence. This is the first episode of our 5-part series called Power Shift, which explores the qualities that people rely on to help them triumph over the greatest challenges in the most challenging times. The topics include agency, power, resilience, courage, and community. This week's conversation brings together a dear friend and someone millions look up to for information and inspiration. 3-time Emmy Award-winning legal journalist, New York Times best-selling author, and co-host of The View, Sunny Hostin. She'll be joined by Dress for Success Global Ambassador Claudia Hernandez from Phoenix, Arizona. Together, they will discuss agency, what this quality means to them, and how it has manifested in their personal and professional lives. Without further ado, let's jump into the conversation.
The Power Shift podcast series is sponsored by our generous friends at Chart Industries, who are also participating in the Your Hour, Her Power campaign. Thank you so much for your support.
Agency is so important, especially for women, right? And I define agency as control over your own actions. It's like your actions are self-motivated rather than being imposed upon you by either someone else or by society or by an institutional structure. It's a really important thing that we are now using that term, what is agency, and how do I define it for myself in my life, personal life or career. So I'm excited about the fact that you hear more and more women, especially, talking about agency over their bodies, agency over their career. I think it's a really important moment.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Actually, when they told us we were talking about agency, my first language is not English. And so I had to say, what does that mean? Because to me, agency means Dress for Success Worldwide or Dress for Success Phoenix or different types of agencies. And so I had to ask the question, what does it mean? And then I had to do a little bit of research. And then I found out that agency is the capacity of an individual or a group of individuals to take matters into their own hands and take control over, what they do under the circumstances that they're under. And I can't tell you how empowering it is to have an agency like Dress for Success Worldwide and the Professional Women's Group in Phoenix to work together to better our circumstances and take control. We don't control what happens to us, but we certainly control what we can do about it. And, Dress for Success has really helped not just myself, but a lot of women do that, take matters into their own hands and have the tools to help themselves and help their communities and help their families be the best versions of themselves that they can be.
We share that in common then, because Spanish is my first language, English is my second language. That's why I think the language of agency is so important, right? Yeah. The way that we're using it. It's fairly new, but I do hear my children talking about it all the time. My son is 20 and he talks about agency over his choices. My daughter at 16 is talking about agency over her body. So I think it's something that not only has come into the vernacular, but has come into real being with at least this next generation, which I'm very excited about, because my generation, 100 years ago, let's say, or at least 50 years ago, because I'm 54, that wasn't a term that was not only not used, but it just wasn't an idea that was adhered to. I was told what to wear, how to wear it, what you should look like, how you should wear your hair that looked professional or not. My hair's curly. I was told that's not really professional. That's not acceptable, even though it's the hair that grows out of my head. I was told sort of what to wear. I was told what to study to be successful. And I think agency has a lot to do with free thinking. And I'm happy that I hear my children and people like you that are younger than I am saying, I know what agency means, and this is how I'm using it in my life.
Well, I don't know if I'm much younger than you are. I won't tell you how old I am, but I'm certainly much older than your children. I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40. So I do love the fact that language evolves. what used to be at one point and what it is now. And I do feel that as a society, we are evolving and we are empowering ourselves to take that choice and have the power to be able to do what we can do. And this campaign, Your Hour, Her Power, is really what it's all about. Giving that power back to the individuals to be able to help themselves. When we teach someone a skill, they can go out there and change the world. This is not a handout. This is a hand up. And that's what Dress for Success is doing for women around the world.
You know, they say that each time a woman stands up, she stands up for all women. I would argue that she stands up for her family. She stands up for her spouse or partner. She stands up for the world, really. So empowering women means you're empowering entire communities.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention in terms of this agency question, I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of women who had real agency. I worked with Barbara Walters, right? So she's a woman who had real agency, built her career out of nothing at a time when it was really difficult for a woman to be a broadcaster. She wouldn't take no for an answer. She was a real trailblazer. I've had the opportunity to meet Oprah Winfrey. She was a first. So what I do find in terms of agency and women, you find trailblazers. You find firsts, you find inventors, you find engineers, you find teachers, you find doctors, but they're generally the first in their family. They're generally a first. And that requires real courage. I know in my own career, I went from being a lawyer to being on television, even though broadcast journalism was my major in college. My mother felt that, she didn't understand what that meant anyway, my Puerto Rican mother. She thought it meant I wanted to act as opposed to being a journalist. And when I left the law to pursue this dream that I had, it was a first for my family. It was a first for my community. Even today, I'm the only network legal correspondent across television. It takes real courage to take that leap of faith. So my agency certainly has been redefined in my career and also in my life, because now I know that I'm the architect of my future. I can make these choices and make these leaps. And failure, sometimes you learn more from failure than you do from a success. So I think I've also learned in terms of agency that when I make choices, I'm not only responsible for my choices and my actions, I'm responsible for the consequences too.
Yes.
And I find that particularly empowering as well.
Absolutely. To your point, women like Oprah, they didn't have the keys to the kingdom. They weren't given everything that they wanted or needed. And they went out, and when there wasn't a table, they made a table. Oprah made her own empire. And the challenges that she had to face as a child, as an African-American woman on television, as a person who wanted to change the world, she was the first in so many ways. I just admire and appreciate all those women that have come before us and paved the way for us, because like you said, being the first is really hard.
It is.
Trying to explain to your family that doesn't speak English why you want to stay in this country and go to college, why you want to be different than everybody else, why you don't want to work in a factory, why you don't want to quit high school and just get a GED. It's really tough. But when you can't see beyond your circumstance, you can't help yourself. And this agency to be able to know that you have the power to not be a victim, to not be a statistic, to not be what everyone else expects you to be, but to be who you really want to be and to be true to yourself and go beyond what your circumstances are. Dress for Success has helped me do that.
I think that's so well said, because agency also requires vision. And that's why I think representation matters so much. We talk about representation as this like amorphous thing. It really matters to see someone that's doing something that you want to do, or seeing someone that's leading in an area and it looks like you. And then you can say to yourself, well, she can do it. Maybe I can do that as well. Or you just see a realm of possibility where there wasn't before, right? So I always think now that I'm much more familiar with this agency term, since my kids use it all the time, I realize now I've taken many leaps of faith, but rather than call it leaps of faith, I think it's an intentional thing. I think it's really intent over your actions and not letting whatever preconceived notions or structures or institutions are there and telling you that you cannot do it. That's powerful and that's empowering. I'm happy that Dress for Success is giving women the ability to have agency over their lives, because what is more important than that?
Absolutely. So many of us have had to go through a difficult path. We all have something difficult to go through. I don't watch The View because I'm working when that's happening, but
it's good that you're working.
Yes, I did watch your TEDx talk. And one of the most important moments that for me was that you talked about what you decide what you do not want to be. And when I decided that I didn't want to be the statistic, that I wanted to be more than that, that was a very empowering moment for me.
Oh, well, thank you for listening to the TEDx talk. I appreciate that.
I think everyone should listen to it, because knowing what you don't want to be is as important as knowing what you do want to be, especially when you come from, my parents came here illegally. We were poor. I didn't speak the language. I had to go through so many different things throughout my life. And I know that I don't want to be referred to as a statistic. I want to be the outlier. I want to be the outcast. I want to be the pirate, the person that got out. I want to be a success. And Dress for Success is helping women around the world, people that have been in jail, people that have been in really bad circumstances, drugs, losing their children, you name it. And it is so inspiring, like you said, when you hear that someone was able to get through these difficulties and still be successful and still be happy. Because ultimately, one of my favorite things about being in America is that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we're all striving for. But if we can't give the tools and the resources to women to help themselves, how are they supposed to do that? To be able to make this place a more equitable place, we need to do that.
I completely agree. And let's hope that one day, because I grew up poor in the South Bronx projects and had to really work really hard to get to where I'm at. People see me now and they just see success. They don't understand the journey. And I hope that through Dress for Success and through representation, we won't be the outliers, right? That we will be the rule and not the exception. I think that should always be the goal. And that's really the goal of agency. Agency is to make sure that people can self-guide and self-motivate and outline their dreams for themselves. And it's okay if people don't understand your dreams because they weren't meant for them.
Right.
But you need to be able to understand your own dreams, your own path, and have agency over it.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here, and thank you for doing this, because how you got to where you are today is as important as your accomplishments. That's a huge accomplishment. So thank you for being an example for us.
Well, thank you, and good luck. Obviously, you're doing a great job.
I'm trying my best. I'm not perfect, but I'm looking for progress, not perfection. Thank you.
Wow, what a riveting exchange. Thank you so much for getting us off to an exciting start, Sunny and Claudia. We are thrilled to be honoring leaders like Sunny during our biggest campaign of the year. And Claudia's story is simply inspiring and extraordinary. Please don't forget to tune in next week for our second episode, where we'll have a conversation about power.